Welcome to the Tech Unlock podcast, where we demystify emerging technologies and give you the keys to unlock your successful tech career. I'm your host, Grace McJones. Let's unlock the future together. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to a brand new episode of the Tech Unlock podcast. Now, if you've been listening to the show for a while, you know we talk about all things emerging tech, and crypto Web3 is not that much of a unknown topic, especially in the past few years. Today on the show, I have Maggie Love, who is the founder of SheFi, which is a Web3 and crypto educational community. I was fortunate to be part of season 7. And today we're just going to have a very candid conversation about the current state of crypto and how underrepresented folks can still be part of this in a way that's not just about money, which obviously is important. But Maggie, I'm so thrilled that you're here today. So welcome.
I'm so happy to be here as well. Be talking with you. I love that we're going to have a candid conversation and hopefully still inspire folks to check out this technology and know that there's definitely still a lot for them to do with it.
Yeah, so we're in 2023. I think 2022 was an amazing year for NFTs and crypto, and that was the whole thing. I was fully in. By this time last year, I'd been to probably 5 or 6 conferences or events, just like going all in. Obviously, no regrets whatsoever, because I feel like I learned a lot. I've met a lot of incredible people. And one of these people led me to learn about SheFi, so no regrets at all. But things are kind of quiet now. You know, there's a bit more drama, and people are like, what is going on? Is crypto dead? So for people who are thinking, are like, okay, what's up with crypto? Is it dead? Is it still thriving? Like, how do you feel about the current state of the climate?
Great question. Well, you said resonated with me about already having gone to 5 conferences by, June of 2022. When I talked to my friends, I reflected on my year last year. And when I talked to them, I'm like, I went to like 20 something locations last year, and it was all related to crypto or like weddings. So it wasn't a lot of personal time. And my friends were like, yeah, I like looked at your Instagram story and like your life seemed like a blur. And I feel like between opening Twitter every day and seeing a new NFT project that you missed out on, getting on planes to go to these conferences, just constantly being pitched different projects, like blur is like kind of a good word to describe 2022. And so I know I made the commitment to myself to like slow down, even, whatever the crypto market was going to do. I was like, I need to slow down. Like, it wasn't so clear, I think, at the beginning of the year what was going to happen, but it also slowed down. And I think that's also just part of the current state of the world in general, the macro situation in the United States. Like, things are slowing down. Tech is slowing down. Growth is slowing down. And we know that crypto is, a newer asset class and, a quote unquote riskier asset class. So when people are thinking about their money and what they're doing in these times of slowdown, and we're seeing a slowness of growth all over, people used to take their money from stocks because that was the risky asset. Right. But now they have even newer risky asset, crypto. So they take it from crypto potentially, and then from stocks, and, put it all at the bank. But even the banking system has been questionable this year. So I think in general, the overtone of this year is like slowness and a bit of unpredictability. And this is why we're seeing growth slow in the crypto space as well. So I don't think that's a bad thing. How these cycles work and what I've seen from being in the space since 2017 is a new technology within the space will take off and drive a lot of hype, that traditional hype cycle. And then it will slow, but what it leaves behind is certain primitives that continue to allow us to build better technologies in the future. So an example of this, I started SheFi in 2020. And around April, I launched it, and I thought, great, there's only MakerDAO, Compound, Aave, Uniswap, and maybe some other stable coins. I was like, 5 sessions. This shouldn't be that hard. And then in, July, August of that year, we get what is called DeFi Summer 2020. And like, there is a new DeFi protocol every day. People are doing something called yield farming, where they deposit their tokens and they earn it's like a rewards program. They deposit one token and earn a different token in return. So they get some other type of financial benefit in return. And every day one was launching and blowing up. And I used to have a really good tweet thread about like really kind of making sarcastic about what it takes to succeed in DeFi. Like step one was already be rich.
Oh my
So
gosh,
it was
yes.
just like a bit of a craze. But you know, from that, we started experimenting with more community-based DeFi protocols and what it looked like to actually launch tokens to communities. You know, we have many of those protocols still around and allowing people to lend and borrow and swap and get access to different banking services without intermediaries. So, you know, we saw this crazy hype cycle in 2020 of, you know, what the word degen came out around that time, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And but just because it slowed down doesn't mean that there's not a lot of exciting stuff happening in DeFi and decentralized staking really taking off. So a lot of these things tend to see this like, you know, rush and hype and even, you know, rush to gold rush almost, you can think of it. And then, you know, things slow down and get quiet, but what's left behind is, you know, use cases. And just like the tech, you know, the original .com bust, you know, didn't mean that all websites went down and all businesses on the internet went down. So I think I can relate that to what happened with NFTs. It was, I don't think a lot of people saw it coming. Surely some of the early punk investors did, crypto punks, took a bet that like being able to represent digital art and have provenance attached with it and value attached with it was going to be something. But it really like took off overnight, I feel like. And
Mm-hmm.
so then there was that hype cycle once again, not only because people thought it was cool, but because you could buy a picture of something and then the next day wake up and it went up, you know, 300% in value. And so once again, we saw this like rush to that. And what I will say is different, and what I was always cautious about was that, and this happened with ICOs, like fundraising with no roadmap, with a meme, with a promise, without a practiced way of doing something should be a bit of a warning sign whenever you're thinking
Yes.
about your investments. So, you know, people were building, you know, before let's think about traditional investing. I know I'm going a bit long here, but like you can raise money from VCs on just an idea and just a pitch deck, but usually they like to see some amount of traction, a couple users, some type of product built out. It's very rare, unless you have AI in your deck, that you can just raise without a product. So what NFTs really enabled were people to raise off of memes and
Mm-hmm.
culture and art, and then try to figure out how they were going to leverage the power of the community to build a product. And I'm not saying that's not something you can do. It's just
Not
very hard.
sustainable. Yeah.
It's not sustainable. You can't have 30 cooks in the kitchen. You know, we would all love to believe that we can coordinate with big groups of people to suddenly build a product that we want. But like, try organizing dinner for 4 friends in a city. Like,
Just the
they're like,
scheduling alone.
so I
Yeah.
think that's, you know, it's kind of a mix of all this. And now products are struggling. The last thing I'll say is with the NFT projects that were truly PFP, some of them are maintaining value. I haven't paid attention that much, but the ones that aren't are upset that their community is upset when they release something new and it doesn't make the price go up.
Mm.
But what I like to say back is if you became a notable project based on you selling an NFT and the price just shooting all the way up, who do you think your community is?
Right.
You know, it's like if you were able to market and do all the right things to be seen as one of those projects where you were going to be paying 100 and something ETH for it in the future, when you release new things and it doesn't go up, it's because you maybe haven't built a community of collectors or advocates or storytellers, whatever you think, whatever you're telling yourself you've built, you've likely built a community of mercenaries. And that's not wrong, but it's good to take stock of who that actually is. And be aware of that when you're innovating. You can't expect every new innovation to come that doesn't drive the price up to come without any backlash when that's what you curated and that's what you got hyped on with all these people going on Twitter last year and helping you hype the price. So I think, there's a lot of factors in this space right now leading to this like lull. But it doesn't mean that the underlying technology is going to be very helpful, useful tooling for certain types of infrastructure in the space that leverages NFTs.
Yeah. Wow. You touched on so many things. And I'm like, where do we even start?
Yeah.
It's only been like what, 5-10 minutes? I'm like, okay, this is going to be great because one thing you talked about, especially in tech, is that we have so many hype cycles. Like even now with generative AI, AI is not new at all. We all know that, like in our phones and our computers, there's AI running in the background. But now that it's more accessible to users, it's like, oh my gosh, AI. Literally, everyone's like, NFT, who is she? We don't know her. The new
Never
it
knew
girl.
her, never saw her.
Exactly. Everyone's like, that girl AI, she's the it girl right now. But we know it's gonna go down as everything else is something else. I don't know, quantum computing, something else is gonna come up in the future. We're all gonna shift. I'm like, oh my gosh. I say in tech we have like shiny object syndrome where it's like the new thing everyone's
Yes.
like looking and it's expected because as human beings we are like that. And so we are also in the attention economy where it's like you really have to be like, okay, what am I paying attention to? What is getting the most eyeballs and most traction? And tech is one of this industry where like since it's geared towards users or customers, it's like we need to make sure people are paying attention to this. And so yes, to bringing that up, just because the media isn't covering it all, or Justin Bieber isn't talking about his ape, or like it doesn't mean like it has no value. But for people who would just kind of like skim through, the trending topics and normally deep dive, it looks like, oh yeah, it's done. Especially what happened with FTX last year. That was a hot mess. We're not going to go into that. If you don't know what we're talking about, please just Google that FTX hot mess scandal. And then people were like, yeah, we knew it. It was a scam. And I was just interested in having these conversations. But fast forward, we're here now. And I loved the balance in your response of like, yeah, like people built in different ways and they're dealing with the results of that. Some people were slow builders, making sure they curated an experience for people who were buying into their project, investing in the community, and they're still there. While others are like, you know what, we're going to go off just throwing parties and events and getting celebrities and hoping that the price, goes up or one tweet or have a Twitter space. And so that model was definitely not sustainable, and people have experienced rug pull, meaning that, the leaders or the builders of a particular project could not fulfill the things that they promised. And so there's all those things happening. And it's like, okay, cool story. So through all of this, what should be the core focus for people who are like, I think there is something here, especially with technology. And what I love about what you've built with SheFi is making sure that this technology is accessible through education, right? Of understanding, hey, let's start from the basics so you know what you're getting yourself into. Like it's not all hype, and you've been a slow builder. And to your point of even having a slow year or like beginning slow, there's nothing wrong with slow growth, like nothing at all. And I'm sure you've seen the benefits from just taking your time to be intentional. So for those who are like, okay, everything is everywhere all at once, low key.
Yes.
What should people be focused on in terms of like, how do I not only benefit, but like learn the proper way of how to be in DeFi, how to be in crypto, in a sense where I'm looking at it from a long-term perspective, right? I'm not looking to flip an NFT. I'm not looking to just stake a coin and whatever. It's like, okay, how should I, like, it's 2023. So imagine Maggie trying to get into crypto in 2023. What would you do differently knowing all that you know now?
Wow, that's a great question. I think first you have to decide for yourself, like, do I believe in the technology? Do I believe that tools and services that go to market should be disintermediate, like the monopolies that bring them should be disintermediated? Do you think that banking services should be for all? Do you think that as a creator, your worth should not be intermediated by a platform? Do you see cracks in centralization, whether it's in giant tech monopolies or, you know, government systems or, you know, whatever that system is, certain types of organizations? Do you think like things should be different? And do you think that it's possible to live in a world where, you know, we have less giant corporations that control the internet, that control what we see on it, that control how we get paid? And do you think that it's like a worthwhile pursuit to try to build something different? If that resonates with you, like centralization, it is how we've organized for centuries and centuries. And I'm not saying it's going away, but it's like, can we build something better? You know, I'm really inspired by people who are like, you know, Spotify adds a new feature every day that continues to like consolidate us just listening to them for everything and streaming. And I know a great female founder building a project called Sona that is, you know, trying to disrupt that model with crypto and Web3. So, you know, just because Spotify is this giant monopoly doesn't mean that like things can't be different. I think we exist in this world where we're like, well, yeah, like now Facebook's having their own Twitter. That doesn't mean we shouldn't try alternative platforms that maybe haven't proven to us that their virality includes spreading hate, misinformation, and, you know, driving rage in order to get eyeballs, and then advertisers wanting to be where the rage is because that gets eyeballs, right? Like, I don't trust Facebook to build a better algorithm than Twitter. So all that's to say is like, you have to just believe that it's worth building something different. And I think that's really important in the Web3 space. Like, people are like, let's give it a shot. And hundreds of thousands of people all over the world are like, yeah, we actually think that these certain platforms or organizations or way of organizing things is not correct, because centralization leads to inefficiencies, corruption, rent extraction, right? Charging more than they need to, mining your data, whatever. And I think that that's important to context that, because in 2022, it might have been hard to know that's what we were doing, right? When it was like PFPs launching, every day opening Twitter, feeling like you missed out on something, like
FOMO is real. Oh my God.
FOMO is real. But when I joined this space in 2017, there was the ICO boom, so initial coin offering, but still the space was small enough that the principles of Bitcoin were really a big part of it. Like, Bitcoin was a lot around, Ethereum was around. And so the principles were like, not your keys, not your crypto, like manage your own money, do not trust, verify, right? And today in the space, we see NFT influencers, like, I don't know, just dictating what we trust instead of being like, how do I do my own research? And there was this, you know, decentralization of the technology, and ideology was important. So I think it's important to set that in 2023, because I think it makes sense over time that it hasn't been maybe as front of mind because of, you know, great consumer use cases where you wouldn't have to know anything, and continuing to abstract that away. But fundamentally, you are building technology that's going to disrupt the centralized players. So you probably have to be somewhat interested in what that world looks like in order to being compelled to understand how these things work. So I think that's just one thing I want to say, because I think it's lost in 2023 a bit. And then I would say, you know, what I would do in 2023 if I was entering now, like when I entered in 2017, there wasn't all these pretty much stood up verticals in crypto, I guess. I would pick what you're most interested in. So whether that is decentralized finance, from like level 1 DeFi to like lending to like maybe you're an ex-banker, so like derivatives or some more complex financial instrument. Or maybe you're interested in music and there's tons of platforms there, or art, whether that's fine art or just being a creator yourself. Maybe it's social media. Maybe you're like tired of Facebook and Twitter and them being just run by specific types of human beings who don't seem to, you know, actually care about censorship resistance and freedom of speech, right? Like, there are Web3 platforms that do actually enable that.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would pick whatever, specific use case you're interested in and then just start researching. And what I would also do, and what I think makes it really compelling is, once again, if you're picking social media, just go do some lightweight research first on like, how is Web2 social media broken? Like we know it, but once you start looking into like how much content creators get paid and all that, then I think it makes wanting to understand the Web3 tech and how you can leverage that to monetize your own creations, your podcasts, your like art, your music, whatever the content is, you can be in control of that now. So I think you kind of have to understand both, whether it's DeFi, right? I
Mm-hmm.
think we're pretty well aware like who gets banked easily. The more money you have, the more types of services you're provided, and just kind of understand what are the challenges there. Or there's a lot of jargon in crypto, but there's a lot of jargon in finance. And then go into like, what does it look like to have truly open markets for lending and borrowing, and truly open markets for stable currencies, and open and decentralized markets for swapping or derivatives, whatever it is. But I think, what I would do is, instead of trying to understand everything at once, depending on what your background is, what you're most interested in, what you think you could potentially use the tech for, try to find that one use case, and then that will naturally lead you into other places. You'll need to get probably a little bit of ETH or whatever networks token you're going to use in order to get started with that use case. So then you're going to probably have to learn how to like set up your exchange and set up your wallet. And I think all of that starts to come with, figuring out what that is that compels you, and then going from there.
That is such a beautiful and insightful answer. Thank you so much for breaking it down, because I think a lot of folks miss that people want to know what is in it for me, right? Like if I'm a creator and I don't really care about finance, or I didn't have the proper education to understand the stock market or how to invest, and like it can be so overwhelming. And so in the crypto market, you're just kind of like, this is overwhelming and looks like a hot mess. Like, why would I want to jump into this when traditional, TradFi finance, it's already hard, and DeFi just looks like y'all are just crazy creating meme coins and like, what's the point?
Yeah.
And so taking a step back and saying, okay, I am an artist, or I'm an aspiring, content creator, podcaster, engineer, whatever it is, it's like, and to your earlier points of like looking at the problems that resonates with you, I think something I appreciate about the space are a lot of people who are passionate about solving problems. They're not just only for like people who are in the United States. These are global problems.
Yes.
That is something I was so impressed by people in, London and Nigeria and, South America, or just around the world. And it's just kind of like, oh, okay, people are realizing, okay, there's so much that centralization has robbed us from, that we don't even question it anymore, right? Obviously, we have things that are of our benefit and convenience, but it's like, what if things could be decentralized? Like, what does that world look like? Obviously, not everything has to be, because let's be honest, it could be a little messy. But being in conferences or even in those Twitter, rooms or whatever, I'm like, wow, this is a global, like, people are like, this is not just affecting me, right? It's affecting other people, other cultures. And so to your point, like, yeah, like if you feel like, okay, I want to solve a specific problem, as crypto, DeFi, NFTs, Web3, the route that I want to use, or the vehicle that I want to use to solve that problem, or the people that I want to build with to create a solution. And that is a way that normally people don't really talk about. It's only like buy my NFTs, or like buy my book, buy my
Yes.
course,
Yes.
join my Twitter spaces. I'm like, nobody gives about just what you have to offer if it doesn't really have sustainable impact, especially in Black and brown communities. And for me, that's what it boiled down to. Like, okay, in Nigeria and especially in Africa, it's like sending money is tough. Like such a complicated system. Yes, it is getting better, but it's still kind of a hot mess. And so people are like, okay, if one Bitcoin here in America is one Bitcoin in Nigeria, like, okay, like I can send money, not think about the exchange rate. Yes, it might fluctuate and things like that. And so that's what initially piqued my interest of like, okay, we can actually figure out ways where if people are supporting families in different parts of the world, that could be a way. Obviously, it's not streamlined and the best and most effective, but it's a starting point and it might be a slow build. And so I love that you said that. And also, as a creator, I think a lot of people are stepping into the creative and economy and creator economy. I think that when we talk about moving to my next topic of people mass adoption, I thought with the velocity of which last year was going, attending
Yeah,
Nancy
the whole world is
NYC.
4 billion to be onboarded by this
Yes.
year.
Going to Art Basel, I was like, oh my gosh, like this is it. Like, like we're on the up and up. And then I was like, oh, okay. I don't think we're that close to mass adoption. There's a lot of different issues that we need to face. And so from your perspective, and I feel like, yes, there are people who are like, okay, Grace, I hear what you're saying, Maggie, great points. But if I'm a creator and my potential, audience does not even understand this technology, like what is like how it doesn't matter how much I know and I learn, if they're not there with me or if I can't bring them up like on board, how does that play out? And so I'm just curious about your theories of mass adoption and if that would help, move things forward, or is it more of like we don't really need that, we just need a specific few people who are willing to go in, the grind and make it happen. What are your thoughts on mass adoption? Because I feel like that's what everyone's like waiting on, but I'm like, I don't think that's happening anytime soon, but what are your thoughts on mass adoption in the crypto space?
Great question. Yes, I think that we weren't even ready for what happened last year. Like that wasn't even mass adoption, and it just showcases that, I truly think a lot of the people that were investing in NFTs had the profile of a small investor, had the money to spend on it.
Right.
So we can pretend that was the masses, but it's not, because, I've been around for a while and I still felt very priced out of many NFTs. And there's like things I
Yes.
just won't pay for. And so I think the NFT space also has to reckon with like, who was your actual audience? I have like a tweet, I'm going to tweet about that one day, but it definitely wasn't the masses. However, it started to scratch the surface of what gets just the public consciousness interested, right? When people hear stories of artists, or they hear stories of their favorite singers raffling off this collectible that gets them like front row tickets to, a concert every time like this band is in town, or, when people see a brand like Nike or Adidas, they're like, okay, like that's how, or Reddit, right? Already very consumer focused brands with avid fans and users are really how we will get to the masses. I think the Reddit avatar collectible onboarded like millions of wallets to the Polygon network. So that started to showcase last year, where we could actually go. And so what I think will happen, and at least I've believed, I've had many lives in the crypto space. In 2018, I was working on a science fiction storytelling project on the blockchain that was going to have its own IP and try to really proliferate fan fiction, royalties, leveraging different pieces of art and this universe. Didn't make it through $80 ETH, RIP.
Oh no. Ouch.
But what was great was we were talking about the global nature of storytelling. How do we allow more people to contribute to culture than Hollywood, who contributes to a lot of what we think culture is?
Yeah.
Or the tech elite, or the people curating galleries, which we all know is a very homogenous group of people at the top. So what happens if we do have global narratives? And I still think that that will be a really critical piece to onboarding. And so whether that's like Marvel, or whether that's another major IP, like even IPs that I'm probably not aware of in like Asian cultures, right? People that have like hundreds of thousands of fans, and people that want to, write fiction. There's fan fiction is really cool because people just do it because they love it. And they're creating all these stories around their favorite IPs, but it's like not even recognized by the IP. So I think NFTs started to showcase that like culture, storytelling, caring about something because of the community that it binds you to through aesthetics. And it's just the beginning, and we just need to take it one step further. And then I think it has to combine with a proper IP. Potentially a brand new IP could stand up and take over, but like Pokemon or something. I don't know. Like I collected Pokemon. My nephew and niece who are 9 and 7 still collect Pokemon. So
Nice.
you like there's some type of continuity that will really onboard the masses, and it won't be through the ways of where you actually have to know everything. But what you could know and what might be important to you is it truly using an NFT that I truly own, right? And that I can like
Mm,
resell. Like, are some of these properties inherent, or are they going to do this Web 2.5 thing where you actually, they're calling it a collectible, but maybe you don't actually own it, or you can't send it to, you'll just want to know how to differentiate between how these things bring this technology to market. And then the last thing I'll say is for independent creators and new creators, I think, to take a step back, a lot of artists were the ones saying like, we can't just launch this to our community because they won't care. And
mm,
so they've really been the ones pushing for how do we meet somewhere closer to fans, but we want to give them the NFTs, or we want it because they get to own it and then we get to know who they are, which a lot of artists don't know who like buys their stuff or who shows up to their shows. So I think that if you're a creator, you have to have something people want. NFTs aren't solving that. I wish NFTs solved all of our marketing problems, but they
right.
won't. And B, you have to figure out how to meet your people where they are, but empower them with the technology that brings them closer and turns them maybe just from casual fans to active fans. And Christina Beltramini from Lens writes about this a lot, but like moving away from audience with Web3 to like fans. That was a lot of stuff. But like I think storytelling, big IPs will onboard a lot. I think if you're a creator, you have to still have that sticky thing. This technology isn't going to become that thing that makes you sticky. And then, hopefully that brings us to a different type of relationship with our favorite brands or singers or actors or artists. And then if you're that person, helps you as well.
Well, that was a beautiful answer. I think going through mass adoption and seeing how certain companies have jumped into the space has been interesting. I think recently Nike coming in when, we're not really in the hype era has been really good to see how they're building. And you mentioned Reddit. So I think a lot of brands being intentional about moving in this space will eventually help with, mass adoption, even if it's at a slow space. But moving on to the future, I know that Shifi is up to a lot of incredible things. For those who want to know how it works, I know this community for women and non-binary folks. Just quickly run us through the process of how it works, what the, season is, how you apply, because I know season 9 is upon us, which is amazing. If people think crypto is dead, it's not, because Shifi is literally in season 9 of educating a lot of women and non-binary in this space. So please just give us a brief kind of like flow of how it works and how more women can get involved.
Yes. So yeah, 9th season, we have a wait list open. It's already getting pretty long. So there's definitely still a lot of interest. It's always a good time to get educated in the tools and technologies that are shaping our future. And while you might not, we never teach like how to flip an NFT, like that's not in the course even, but you'll
That's a
want to
good thing.
know, right? You'll want to know, how can I tell that this is a legitimate project from an illegitimate project? Because I understand how things works now, and I have the ability to discern. And that's what a lot of Shifi is about, empowering you with information so you can go out, discern, and make the best choices for you, create your own risk assumptions, create your own goals for yourself, and then be able to parse through Twitter to be like, what is real, what is not so real. Meme coins are definitely a no. These are all things we can guide you through. So how Shifi works is it started as educational based or cohort based educational program, and really focusing on 3 things: education, making sure you understand what this technology is, how it works, getting a little bit technical and financial, but making it accessible, but also not just teaching you, because you can read all day, but things don't really click for you, at least for me, ever until I do the thing. So, it's part learning, part doing. So we really encourage experimenting each week with the different use cases I teach you about. And what's cool is we've actually implemented new technology, leveraging NFTs. We're calling them participate to earn NFTs, where you can unlock traits if you do certain activities. It's a Robo Nova, so it's an entirely new thing that we've created. And you get to unlock your first trait for joining SheFi. And then after that, if you swap on a decentralized exchange, mint an NFT, bridge your tokens, lend in the DeFi space, you'll be able to create your own avatar over time. And each is issued as an NFT. So we're encouraging experimentation and certification through these Web3 native ways. And also, how much more fun is that than just getting a certificate? And then it's kind of like build your own certification credentials, take that to your interviews, take that to the boss you want to show that you've been doing stuff and get a promotion for, take that to a DAO you want to enter, a decentralized autonomous organization. So thinking of fun ways to actually incentivize the use of these tools so that you can become more confident. We're not going to sit here and be like, you have to do it, but we want you to. So right now the course is 13 weeks. We start with, blockchains, infrastructure, overview. Then we go into a DeFi section where we focus on lending, swapping, staking. And then we go into the last section, which is NFTs, the metaverse, Web3 social, getting into that consumer layer. So we've kind of architected it in these 3 blocks. You get to hang out with me for 3 hours a week. We're trying to bring in more guest speakers as well. And then that's really the core focus of when you first join SheFi, and you have to apply. The application isn't like you have to be this or that. It's just so we get to know who you are, because we are community focused. That's our 3rd pillar. And we've really grown in such, an incredibly fast way since we really ripped off the Band-Aid and said, let's just do larger cohorts. But we still grow mostly through referrals and our marketing and people who are values aligned. So to think that you have this global community that is somewhat values aligned, that's why we like to know a bit more about you and who you are. The great thing is that we work really hard to get sponsored so we can create our content and provide our courses and pay our team and allow for as many scholarships as are needed. So we do have a fee, but no questions. We ask you a few questions so we once again know why you need it, because we have to go ask for money to protocols run by men, and they don't understand sometimes, especially if they joined the space in 2018, why a woman in 2023 may not have the funds to interact in this space. So 13-week program, you can join. We'll ask you a bit about who you are. And then outside of that, we try to offer a lot of programming. So there's been a lot of news this week about the SEC. We're bringing the head of policy from Polygon, Bain Capital Crypto, and a Women for Blockchain Association to make sure you understand what happened, what does that mean for you, and what's going on. So we'll always provide expert speakers virtually, and then we have more in-person events around crypto conferences. And outside of that, we just do try to offer a lot of ways for you to network, get jobs, share information, feel like you have a place to ask questions, and get help if you're stuck on something. So as the community grows, all those parts sort of take a life of their own. And we just want to, now that we have this network, enable people to do what they want within that network. If they want to start an interest group or something else, we're here to support and amplify. So we do a lot of things, but it's all just focused around empowering with information, making things clear, giving you that confidence. We're all new to the space. And so it's really never too late to start learning.
When people said, a few years ago, we're so early, I believe it now. Because back then I was like, oh yeah, we're early. I'm like, no, because we've lived 5 10 lives in the past year of like the cycle of crypto. And so it's never too late or even too early to jump into the space and to learn. I think the key part is with community. And I love that you were so intentional of how you're building this community. And also with the people that you bring in, the guest speakers and the experts who are really knowledgeable about their domain space, but also as it comes in intersection with crypto. So I think this is a beautiful community, and I feel that I definitely felt welcome, and I think this is a great space and place to start. Even if you even know a lot, I think it's a great space to also learn more. So thank you so much, Maggie, for taking time to share more about just everything that's happening in the space right now. And I think it'd be so fun to come back a year from now or so to see if things have really progressed or how things have gone and just be like, okay, well, let's see in 2024, how would you enter the space? But I love that's ever changing. But the builders are still here. They're still building in the bear market, which is exciting. Where can people find you and the SheFi community online?
Yes, let's do it. Let's check in every year and see how we're doing. I love that. You can find me at Maggie Love _ on Twitter. You can find SheFi at she__fi on Twitter. You can find us on our website is where it's like where you'll find everything. It's your one-stop shop. So www.shefi.org, SHEFI. We have a newsletter. We have Instagram. We have TikTok. So if you go there, you'll find all about us and the programs that we offer, how to sign up for the wait list. And I'll share the wait list for you in the show notes. Definitely join that, and we'll add you to the newsletter so you know when applications are coming live and who our sponsors are and what the program entails. We'll have, throughout the summer, we'll start re-promoting where you can find our FAQs and curriculum and all that fun stuff. So website, sign up for newsletter, sign up for waitlist, and then you'll be receiving all the updates.
Beautiful. Well, I hope you all enjoyed listening to this episode. And if you're a guy listening, definitely there's ways to support and sponsor. Yes, we need your coins to make sure that this vision and this mission is able to scale and help so many other women and non-binary folks. So Maggie, thank you so much for being on the podcast. It's such a gem to this community and to the tech community at large. I'm inspired by everything that you do, and I know that this episode is going to help a lot of people. So thank you again for being on the show.
Thank you. Awesome conversation. This was great.
Welcome to the Tech Unlock podcast, where we demystify emerging technologies and give you the keys to unlock your successful tech career. I'm your host, Grace McJones. Let's unlock the future together.